Thank you so much, Danette May, for being here on the New Mid.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I feel so fortunate that our friend April Garcia hooked us up. And she's like, Michelle, I just had the most amazing guest on. You have to have Danette on. And I'm like, okay. So I was so happy that you're here.
Yeah, and it's been fun to get to know you a little bit more and just what you're passionate about. And I'm just really proud of what you've created, this community.
Thank you. Yes, the new mid, because in midlife, the whole thing is we're still climbing. Like we still have so much to do. We're not like our mom's midlife. We are, like at 50, it's still a new start. And that's what I love. But you just released a book like just a few days ago, Embrace Abundance.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Literally 2 days ago, it just hit all major bookstores and Amazon. And it's an interesting moment because it's a labor of love for about 18 months of back and forth, writing it, second guessing yourself, growing along the way, and then wondering if you got to add more, but you can't add more, and tons of editing. And it's just like you're finally here and everyone has it. So yeah, it's a beautiful moment.
I mean, I think that would be also, this is your second book. You had The Rise, correct?
Yep. Yep.
And I mean, that has to be exciting because now it's out into the world and you're like, okay, what are people reading it,
Yeah.
So what were you hoping to tell the readers in this book?
Yeah, I'll kind of give backstory to this. And then I definitely want to throw out that I love about this whole mid thing. Like, I'm so fired up about it because it's like, not only are you just getting started, but I think this demographic is needed more than ever in this time of history because there is a wealth of wisdom through the years of seeing different perspectives and what's happened in the world. But so that wealth of wisdom, but there is a vitality there. It's a different, you're healthier than most 50+ year olds were back then. So it's like this vitality mixed with wisdom, and it's the most potent untapped resource demographic I feel that's ready to be unleashed, and women being the ones that are holding that intuition and ready to go out into the world. So I love this demographic and I look up to them, and I'm just aspire and go. And I also feel like I want to be the fire lighter underneath everyone because I'm like, it is go time. We need everyone owning their power and going.
It's so true. You know what? It is so true. And especially women. It's funny. I don't know if do you know Jennifer Buck by any chance? She's a motivational speaker. But it was funny on this podcast, she was saying, I just think the world would be so much better if it was led by women.
I don't know about that, but I just think that we need more women in their power, more women speaking up, more women really showing up and becoming alive in this world. And so it kind of ties me back to the book because my demographic, who I've primarily, like, my email list is like 1.5 million. And I've had the privilege of just serving, people out in the health space and the mindset space. And my demographic, it happens to be this demographic, and lets me just know that these women are the type of women in which Facebook headquarters told me this. They said, your demographic is really unique because it's almost like the women that are done with kind of the illusion and the lies that have been fed all along, and they're wiser, and they're like, just serve it up real. And so when I thought about this book, which is interesting, Hay House came to me again and they were like, are you going to write another book? And I was like, well, I wasn't planning on it right now. And they were like, well, we want you to. And when they approached me, it was right before we hit into the early 2020s with everything that was going on in the world. And so I go, well, what do you want me to write on? And they were like, what do you feel you should write on? And I was like, wow. So I've been so blessed by Hay House because they come to me and go, whatever you want to write about, let's go. And they kind of put me on the spot. So I had to go within myself and really think about, out of this time in our history, right? We're at like this very unique time that our kids, our grandkids are going to be talking about. And we're still unraveling what they're going to be discussing, but we're in it as a society. We're in it. And I was like, what I do know, because I've been studying this idea of abundance for about 10 years now. I've been a student of it. My mess has become my message. I've gone in and out of this threshold because I'll get to my past because I'm unapologetic who I am today and cultivating a lot of abundance. But what I found is that the secret sauce to financial abundance, to health abundance, to relationship abundance, to having good times and vacations and all that. If you want to put it on speed dial in your life, this dream in your heart into your reality, the secret sauce is unconditional love for yourself and getting into that threshold and that frequency of love for yourself, which ultimately translates to love in humanity. And I was like, okay, I want that for the world. And also Hay House was like, Danette, I think people are really interested in to know how in 5 years you went from $47 to 2 8-figure business, how you went from a single mom to loving like what you would call your soulmate, someone you really are passionate about, how you went from doubting yourself as a mother to having really close relationships with your children, on and on. And I was like, and I've been using this formula and teaching my clients, and I was like, all right, I'll just write it in the book.
Okay,
Let's just get it all
put it
out.
in the book and get it into
Yeah.
the world. Well, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because you talk about having $47 and then 2 8-figure businesses. Congratulations. That's amazing. But your story is just, you're very vulnerable when you talk about it. And if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit, and I love how you got together with your husband.
Did you read The Rise?
I haven't
Because
yet.
I put that in The Rise. I thought maybe you did, because not many people know that story. But yeah, I'm unapologetic about saying these 2 8-figure businesses because they lead me to be able to serve. And it's really about me honoring my purpose here on this planet. And so I say that, but I say it unapologetically because I know where I came from. I know where I was. And I really want people to understand that the things that I outline and the things that I share, whether you're reading the book or you're a high level client with me, is that, there is a formula. Success leaves clues. And a lot of it is, tenacity and work and certain strategies. But what I found in my life is that your frequency is more potent than your strategy. And I'm really sharing a lot about that because that is the differentiator that took me from this $47, that took me from this heartbreak. So a little bit about my story at the time was, I was kind of on cruise control in my life, not kind of, I was on cruise control in my life. I was married. I was practicing in my life exactly how my parents raised me to practice, the kind of house I lived in, the amount of money I made, which was not a lot, how I showed up in religious and all the different ways that I was showing up, from the clothes I wore to everything. And I was just living into the paradigm of how I was raised, which a lot of us do. We get laid with these ideas, these rules, these ways of looking at the world. And we often, there's just takes someone to really go, is that really how I see the world? What is all this layering? Can I pull it off? But I was in this phase of living like that, really good at turning off my intuition, because if I turned on my intuition, I would be disrupting a lot of things in my life. Well, here I was pregnant with my second child. I knew he was going to be a boy. I was so excited. And I was in this rare moment where I was sitting in the rocking chair. It was quiet and I was trying to feel him move. And so I was rustling my belly to try to wake him up, thinking he was asleep because I couldn't feel him. And he still wasn't moving. And I had this intuition that you need to go to the hospital, something's wrong. But when you're really good at turning off your intuition, when things don't feel good and you just want to turn it off, that's where I was. Right. And so I got up and I went and did the dishes.
It's easy to ignore.
Yeah, I share this story not for anyone to feel bad for me, but to, like I always say, his passing is what woke me up. It took him passing for me to go, wow, to hit such a rock bottom, for me to go, whoa, Danette, you're caring about all these things and how you're perceived in the world. Like, wake up to you. And so I share this because where in your life have you turned off your intuition because it feels uncomfortable, or because you don't like what it's saying, or because it's going to make you get out of certain friendships, out of certain relationships, out of certain ways that you're living your life and you're conducting your life? I think humanity, this is a big topic right now.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So
it usually only change because of two ways, through repetition or through a really major life experience.
yeah,
And so you want to tell people like, no, you can change, and it doesn't have to, you don't have to be your world rocked. But I mean, so you had you hit your rock bottom, you ended up leaving your first husband.
yeah,
And
lost
then
my son, went through a really terrible divorce, found myself with all of my money moved out of my account, $47 to my name, which we found in cushions and drawers. I played a little game with my kids, and I was just at a really interesting spot. But it wasn't just that. I always say that what was worse than losing my son and having $47 to my name was the stories in my head, the stories of never going to amount to anything, that I was a terrible mother, that I was a financial ruin. All these stories were on repeat. And the biggest miracle for me was shifting that mental zip code. And that's what I want to help everyone, because that was a frequency and I was living into that frequency, and I had to shift it, and I learned how to do it. And I took a hold of that line and I walked the path out. And that it truly is, it's truly understanding your mind, understanding how to rewire your mind, and how to get into deep cellular worth within yourself, deep love for yourself, not just
right.
spas, bubble baths,
It
but
is
deep
so
love.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah, nothing beats when you love yourself, and that radiates from inside.
yeah.
And you can just see how you radiate, and
Thank
you've touched
you.
so many lives. So you, through this experience, you ended up meeting your current husband.
Yeah.
So how did you do that? Like, tell us
Okay.
this amazing story, because I was listening to your podcast on April on Pivot
I
Me,
can't even remember what I
and
told her. She has a way of pulling interesting things.
I know you actually told the whole story about how you got a hold of
Yeah.
him, and
Yeah. So I used energy. Truly, I was using and practicing the power of meditation, the power of a certain sound to really create out into the world. So I do this particular meditation. If you really want something around meeting a soulmate or reigniting the love you already have with somebody that you're with, and it's like a little blah, I created a 21-day Attractor Soulmate Challenge, which I literally give that whole meditation. I give all the things inside that program. But one thing I did is I had learned from this healer around this power of this sound to really like get you into a frequency, because I don't know about you, but for me, if I just go to try to sit and meditate, like my brain's like blah blah, and so
yeah,
this particular meditation uses a sound that you're making, which quiets the mind and drops you in deeper into a vibration within your body, because you're creating sound. And then it makes it easier for you to control the thoughts in your brain, which then you can emote out an intention, a thought of what you're wanting to create with the sound. Potent as all get out. So I was using this particular meditation and sound, and I was visualizing the partner that I wanted in business and the partner I wanted as a lover, and someone to be like this partnership with my children, like as a father figure. And honestly, I didn't know it was going to come in a 2-for-1, which was really, really beautiful and like super simple. But, that's what I want to say is that, this energy that we put out, it's going to show up sometimes even greater than what we could even fathom for ourselves. And so that's how that relationship started.
that is amazing. But you did manifest your husband and business partner, but you had the gall to call him up and ask him to fly to meet you because you had a business idea. And was that Earth Eco? Was that
No, it was the business of, because Earth Echo came about a year and a half, 2 years ago, which was
Okay.
also born of visions in my mind. But the vision I had for the business was our first business we started, which was where we have all these women around the world, which is our email list, which is our detox programs, our nutrition, our fitness programs. I wanted women to really feel empowered within their bodies and their minds and understand their worth through healing foods and movement and mindset. So that was the first, which was like, there's like 7 different programs. But yeah, I I literally, what happens though, when you drop into this frequency, which is around self-worth and self-love, to other people, it might look like you're delusional. And even sometimes I'm like, whoa, because you just are so on a thread of possibility and unlimited potential that you will just be like, yeah, of course they want to be my business partner. Of course they want to like jump on this Danette train. I might like have 3 followers, but I'm sure they want to jump on this. So it makes you bolder. It makes you ask. It makes you show up in a different way. And that also is that thread of frequency. You do show up in the world different. Because we get, as humans, we're shown and told ideas all the time. We're the ones who don't act on it. It's not for a lack of ideas. It's not for a lack of connection or an idea to a connection. It's just that we're like, oh, that would look weird. Oh, they don't want to. And we stop ourselves. Right. So when you get into a frequency of love and self-worth, you're just like unstoppable. You just go, you just ask.
Right. Yeah. So you call him up out of the blue and he doesn't get on a plane to meet you. He's skiing somewhere.
Yeah, so, no, I'm Facebook messaging him because I don't have his phone number. So I'm stalking him on Facebook over and over and over.
No, it's because he was really good at marketing, because you realized, okay, I want this company, but I'm not good at marketing, because you had like 300 followers.
Yeah.
So that's so funny. So then you're going back and forth, and then he says for you to go meet him, correct?
Yeah, and he lives in a different state. I literally, guys, I'm eating beans and weenies as a mother, single mom, no money, but I had Marriott credits. So I was like, okay, I drove my car. I stayed at the Marriott with my credits and I met up with him.
Oh my gosh. How long of a drive was that?
Like 8 or 9 hours.
Oh my, what were you thinking that during that drive? Like,
who knows? I just remember, for me, what moved me was that I was like, of course, like I now have learned that my body will give out cues, and everybody's bodies do. Sometimes it comes in an idea for some people. Sometimes it comes in butterflies. Like I always say, a lot of times people get mixed up around the butterflies because we get butterflies in our bellies and we associate it to fear or nervousness. And I always say, follow the butterflies, because that is your sign that you're onto something really beautiful. And also I'll get like kind of like goosebumps or like a feeling that's swishing through me. And so now I've learned, okay, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm moving in that direction. That's where Earth Echo came from, because we didn't know anything about starting a superfood company. We didn't have the overhead. We didn't have the resources, but I'm like, I just know.
Right.
I just know. So anyway, yeah. So I'm pretty sure I just drove out there thinking, of course he's going to partner with me, of course. And when we met, he was like trying to give me advice, trying to be really nice. And I was like, and then he told me how much he charged. And I was like, oh man, I don't even have this money. Wow. Okay. But then when I drove away, I do remember what I was thinking driving back home. I was like, it will happen. It's just until he catches on to it, it will happen. And it did. It wasn't overnight. It took about 5-6 months for him to percolate what I had said, but I had planted a seed. He had seen my drive. He had heard my vision. He kind of thought it was strange that I drove out to meet him. He was like, wow. And then he saw my professionalism. He knew I would meant business around this. And so a seed was planted, it percolated. And then, we met up again at a different business venture. And then he was like, I think I got to do this. And I was like, I know you do. I'm waiting for you.
Well, he also could feel your vibration, all of your energy and the excitement. And it's amazing how it turned into being more, which is great. As you said, you're 2 for 1. So if there is somebody who's having self-doubt right now, or, they're kind of sabotaging themselves, because when we get into midlife, we're so used to putting everybody else in front of ourselves. We are so used to, like for me, I'm the sandwich generation. I have young kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. And then my parents are in their 50s. I mean, I'm in my 50s. My parents are in their 80s. So, you're pulled in many directions. So it's so easy to put everyone else first. What do you say to those women to finally realize, like, okay, it's time to stop self-sabotaging. It's time to stop putting everyone else in front of you and just take the bull by the horns and take care of yourself.
Yeah, I coach on this a lot in my high level premium coaching, and it's quite beautiful to see women stepping into that idea that, and I think it's really anyone listening that's like, yeah, what is that? It's like understanding that you can't serve with an empty cup. It's literally like taking a nice teacup and handing it to somebody and it's empty, right? And what we want to do is serve from our overflow. You're going to serve from the saucer because you're filling yourself up so much that it's in overflow. Because here's the deal, it's actually more selfish for you to constantly give all the time, feel depleted, and then start to slowly resent situations, people in your life, because you're serving from exhaustion. You're serving from almost a place of people pleasing, or like, this is what I have to do. And it ends up being a frequency that's actually not in full service to those who you think you're serving and those who you love dearly. When I think that we've gotten a little off track around what's selfish and what's unselfish. So when you are in your frequency of love for yourself, meaning that you've showed up for yourself first thing in the morning. I always say, I'm constantly serving all day. Most of us all are. I mean, that's also really fun. And that is the spice of life. We're here to be a vessel. We're here to show up and serve, but you can't serve fully from an empty cup. So starting your morning dedicated to you is so fundamental. It's so fundamental. And it's not even a new concept. People share about it. It's all over the place, but do we really live into it? Right? Because a lot of us, when we wake up, we're literally in the past. We wake up and we think about, oh my gosh, what's on the docket today? Okay, I got to do that. But you're also feeling the past pain, the conversation that might have happened that was made you feel uncomfortable. Maybe you're thinking about ailments with your parents. Maybe you're thinking about ailments in your own body. Maybe you're thinking about whatever, right? And that means you're not fully present. And so in the morning, if you can wake up and really just set the tone without anyone else, I get up really early. Like, I'm going to be super real with you. If you have people that get up early, you got to get up earlier. You just do.
Right. Yeah, it's true. So if someone's like, okay, I've listened to this, I want to raise my frequency, I want to do those steps, but they just aren't getting started. Like, they're just having a hard time making that leap. What would be 3 techniques that you could give us that they could actually start the motor, start the, tangible actions that they can do that will help them put one foot in front of the other?
Well, okay. Can I be super real?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I would only want you to be super real.
Okay, because I'm going to make some people listening uncomfortable, but I'm here to be a truth server more than make you feel really good, because I could sit here and give you 3 practical things, which makes everyone feel really good. And then your brain can find a way for you to find a lot of excuses why those 3 practical things aren't going to work. So I just want to ask anyone who's like, I don't, what do I need to do this? Like, how do I want to first go, it's not that you don't know how, it's there's a worthiness situation going on. You don't actually think you're worthy. So I'm going to get a little rough. The first one, you don't actually think you're worthy to have time for yourself. You don't think you're worthy enough to love yourself in this type of manner. So you instead choose to like mask this unworthiness in your service. The second thing is you're maybe afraid to spend time with yourself. You are afraid of the truth that's going to bubble up, the things that you've got to face within yourself, those shadows. And so spending time with yourself does not sound awesome. And so you self-sabotage that. So I want to get to the nitty gritty of it, because I can give you 3 strategies. I can give you 10 strategies. I can give you 1. But until you really look at your worthiness, is it that? Or is it that you're really afraid to look and be with yourself and to really go, I'm going to look at these stories that I've told myself, and I'm going to rewrite them. And some of it's going to feel icky and some of it's going to be hard. And that's just the truth. So check yourself, ask yourself the question, is it a worthiness situation that's keeping me from spending time with myself and nurturing myself and like filling myself up? Or is it that I'm really afraid?
Oh my gosh, that is so powerful. I mean, that is really powerful. And we're in midlife. So I say all the time, there's less sand in the hourglass. There just is. It's a reality because life catches up with us. And so if you're not going to take the time to look at this and go deep, when are you? Like it's now. And it reminds me of when we started this conversation. The world needs us now more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it needs all our special gifts. And so I just thank you so much for coming on the new mid and waking us up and lighting a fire under all of us. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So how can people get in contact with you, and where can people get your book, Embrace Abundance?
Yeah. So right now you're welcome to go to embraceabundancebook.com. The book's called Embrace Abundance. I'll put it up in
Yes.
case you're watching this. Embrace Abundance. And you can go to embraceabundancebook.com. When you buy this book, it's obviously going to come right to you in hard copy form, but I'm going to give back to you. So anybody who goes to embraceabundancebook.com and buys it wherever you want it, from Barnes and Noble, Amazon, whatever your preferred place, I'm giving you a free ticket to a live coaching event with me, September 28th. So I'm going to be coaching around reigniting sexual desire in a long-term relationship. I'm going to be coaching about communication so you get the love that you desire, and really just talk about these deeper things that we're not really talking about, but we're in the time and the era to talk about them. And you can follow me at DanetteMay.com, or I don't know how many of you guys do social, but that's where I'm at.
I love it. Well, thank you, Danette. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.